please.
Thank you. Mr. Gagnon, do I have your testimony right that the police, when they entered the gym, had their guns drawn? Did any of the police have guns?
Yes, they did. Well, I think they were rubber bullets and rifles. I'm not used to this. I'm not familiar with guns, but they were pointing at us with all kinds of rifles with rubber bullets.
You've repeatedly said that the proper place to complain about police behavior is off to the Independent Police Complaints Commission, but I'd imagine as Chief of Police, there's also a number of things that you want to know about as Chief. If your officers are not complying with proper procedure, you've already mentioned in terms of your rule about covering the badge. You've dealt with that. That wasn't a complaint made to the Independent Police Commission,
there were complaints made to the Public Complaints Commissioner. And
I haven't asked the question yet, sir. Can I ask my question?
He sent those complaints back to me to investigate.
Okay. Do you have rules of engagement for when officers may draw their gun or not?
There are rules both in the criminal code and in our procedures.
Right. So can you tell us, in this situation with police going into a gymnasium of sleeping students, is that a proper situation in your view for officers to enter in with their with rifles?
All I can tell you is that it may be. It depends on what their reasonable apprehension is, and when going into those places, what they're expecting. You know, they have to do that job safely. Police officers do carry guns to effect a purpose, and the execution of search warrant. And over the course of my police career, I've executed many warrants. I've gone into many places to arrest people. If I believe that there may be armed persons there, then
Chief, did any of your officers find any guns in that gymnasium?
To the best of my knowledge, no.
No. And typically when police arrest people, many times they don't draw their gun to arrest someone, do they?
Not in very many circumstances. Everything depends on the circumstance.
Right. Now, in terms of, you said that the rights of people to peacefully protest was compromised by a mob. I would put to you, sir, that the rights of those 70 people in that University of Toronto gymnasium to protest was not compromised by any mob. It was compromised by the police officers who came in and arrested them.
And with respect, sir, I disagree.
You disagree with that?
Absolutely. I think the police officers have a responsibility, if they believe on reasonable probable grounds that people have committed a criminal offense. They have a responsibility to bring those people before a justice, and that was done in this case.
And it doesn't concern you that not one of those charges actually even went to trial?
Well, I'm aware of the circumstances under which the Ministry of the Attorney General made a decision not to proceed, and it was on the basis, not on the absence of reasonable probable grounds, but on a different criteria, which is a reasonable prospect of conviction.
Right.
And because of the legal, and I don't mean to minimize this, but because of the legal technicality, they did not believe there was a reasonable prospect of conviction, and they made the appropriate decision not to prosecute under those circumstances.
And part of that was because of the lack of warrant. So after 6 hours of specialized training, as well as the fact that these are police officers who are trained in the law and are trained in when they need a warrant or not, it happened that this coordinated activity went into the University of Toronto gymnasium at 6 in the morning, and no one thought that they might need a warrant.
Well,
is that right?
The Feeney warrant is something that's been ruled by the Supreme Court of Canada, and it normally pertains to entering into a residence to apprehend an individual, and that a Feeney warrant must be obtained before going in to do that, except under extraordinary circumstances. I assume, and again, you're asking me to speculate, and this matter is being investigated by the OAPRD. Okay. We'll see what his outcome is, but I assume that they believe that it was not required because they were
Well, apparently they did believe that because they didn't have one, and apparently they were wrong. But the last question I have is we have the largest mass arrest in Canadian history, sir. 1,100 people were arrested. 900 of them were dismissed without the Crown even being able to proceed to trial. I'll tell you what it looks like to Canadians.
Sir, what you've just said is incorrect.
What it looks like, yes, it was 900 charges were dismissed at first appearance, sir.
No, sir.
Now,
900 people were apprehended for breach of the peace.
What it looks like is that the police went in and arrested almost 1,000 people. They didn't have sufficient evidence. They removed those people from the ability to protest. The summit finished, and then when the charges had to come to court, 900 of them have been withdrawn.
With great respect, sir, what you're saying is not correct.
What's not correct about what I said,
First of all, the overwhelming majority of the people that were apprehended under the legislation to prevent a breach of the peace. There was never any expectation.
Sir, what was said in the University of Toronto gym that morning? Because I was told that what was said is they were being arrested for conspiracy to commit an indictable offense. That's what was read out in that gymnasium, not breach of peace, sir. And we'll have witnesses that will testify to that later on in this committee.
Well, and that's fine, sir, but your statement
Well, you're
that
not correct, sir. You're not correct.
Please, just let him finish. Our time is basically up. Go ahead,
Your
Mr. Blair.
statement that 900 persons were arrested and then the charges were withdrawn is simply not true. The charges were withdrawn against the 60 persons or so that were arrested in that gymnasium, but when I say what you're saying is not correct, was your extrapolation that same set of facts pertains to the 900, and that's simply not true.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Blair. Thank you all for your attendance here today. As you know, we're going to continue on this study of the security at the G8 and G20, and certainly all of you being here, Mr. Gagnon, Mr. Beachy, Mr. Blair, and Mr. Giroux, have certainly helped us on that study, and so we thank you. We are adjourned.